which one? Oh, that one. It's a sausage in there.
We are all about cooking from scratch, growing our own food, and doing it alongside our 4 young children. When people ask how we get it all done, I have to laugh because if you set foot in our messy garage or basement, you'd quickly see that we definitely aren't getting everything done. But in spite of not getting to everything, we love our life and we love our days. They are full of the things that we value. Come along for a typical summer day on our homestead and we'll share what's been the most helpful to balance all of the things. When we're trying to set up plans with family or friends and someone asks us when we are available, my response is always, well, our life is really full, but it's also really flexible. And what I mean by that is that as a family that homeschools and homesteads and has a home business, we really have very few things that are actually planned and on our calendar for specific days and specific times, but each day is really, really full. And we really like it this way. It gives us the flexibility to take a day at any point to go to the zoo for our son's birthday or to swim with friends at a moment's notice. But for the most part, our days are filled with the same rhythms and routines that we love. Farm chores, homeschool time, work outside or in the kitchen, family meals together, and reading aloud. My mom passed away fairly suddenly in March, and I miss her a ton. She was one of the most intentional people I know. She was a fused glass artist, and as my sister and I were going through hundreds of pieces of her artwork, we found these 2 boxes that she had made. They are boxes for your cell phone, and she had printed out a picture inside that read, "The Present of Presents." We are pretty sure that she made them to be gifts for each of us, and so I took mine home and it's been sitting on my dresser ever since.
See? Somebody's climbing out. Don't see it. Yeah. Behind that.
What do you think the skid steer is doing?
Keeps getting loads and dumping them into the dump trucks over there.
Probably the single thing that has made the biggest difference in using our time well is this very thing, the present of presents. When I'm attempting to respond to text messages while having a conversation with our 8-year-old, it never goes well. Or when I'm checking something just really quick on my phone, but it turns into 15 minutes of me going through my typical cell phone loop of email, text, Instagram, Facebook, etc. It wastes a lot of time and it never results in feeling better about my day. We are by no means perfect at this, but it's really important and we've seen firsthand where it's made a big difference. Times during the day when we are intentionally doing things as a family or with our kids, the phone goes into the box. So this includes homeschooling time, meal times, and read alouds. And it's been really interesting observing how when we are fully present and engaged during those times, our house feels so much more calm and fun than in the times when we are trying to multitask or doing something while being distracted. Another factor that has made a huge difference is having clear values and priorities around our time. Just like we create a budget for our dollars and have a plan for our money and how that's been incredibly freeing to us, having clear values around our time has also been really helpful to make sure that we're spending our time actually doing the things that we want to be doing. Several years ago, when our oldest daughter was a baby, Jim and I sat down and created a family mission statement, or basically a list of values that we had for our family. And it was so helpful because it kind of acted like this filter that we could process opportunities through. As opposed to just saying yes to anything that came our way, we could kind of run things through the filter of our family mission statement and decide if it aligned with our values and if it was something that we wanted to pursue. As our kids have gotten older, this has gotten a bit more complex, and it's actually something we've been thinking about lately, how we'd like to revisit and sit down and create a list of values together as a family.
Let's do some violin, guys. All right. I think we're all doing it, right? Yeah. Here we go. Toes, toes, knees, knees, waist, waist, shoulders, shoulders, ears, ears, nose, nose, head, head, clap, clap. Toes, toes, knees, knees, waist, waist, shoulders, shoulders, ears, ears, nose, nose, head, head, clap, clap. Toes, toes, knees, knees.
When our daughter was around 5.5, we asked if there was some sort of sport or activity that she wanted to get involved in. She said she wanted to play the violin. She's been playing for 3 years now, and her younger brothers have recently decided to join her and start playing as well. So we usually start our days after breakfast and chores by practicing violin before we get into our homeschool day.
Good practice.
For homeschooling, as opposed to following a specific calendar with set start dates and end dates, I really just try to read our family and the needs that we have in the season that we're in and follow my gut on what I think we need in that particular time. So for example, this year, I decided at the end of May to take a break. We have a ton of birthdays, and June was a really full month for us with swimming lessons and tons of extra time in the garden. So we took a full month off of our normal homeschool routine. Now that those things have calmed down, we are back at it. We are getting into our rhythm. We're doing our regular reading and our math lessons every morning. Yeah, then what do we get? Spilled. I also try to apply this to our day-to-day and be intentional about just reading kind of the mood and attitude of our family. If it seems like everyone is getting antsy with a lot of consecutive days doing the same thing at home, we'll try to plan a fun day and get out. Or if we've had a busy season with lots of extra things, we'll make sure to be intentional about pulling back. Making simple meals is also really helpful when you have full days. So cooking from scratch meals can be really complex and take a ton of time, but they also don't have to. Our meals today came together in just a few minutes. I started the day by getting a whole chicken cooking in the slow cooker that we'll have for dinner. I add the water directly to the pot as I'm cooking the chicken so that it's ready to go broth that I'll strain out when the chicken is finished. Lunch is going to be a simple sweet potato hash with some sausage, onion, garlic scapes, and nettles, since those are all things that we have on hand and most of them from the garden. I can easily chop and roast the vegetables while the kids are practicing violin, and then the rest of the hash sautés together in just a few minutes.
Here we go.
What's that? Scraggle
Hash.
Yeah. Okay.
Eggs. Eggs.
Yeah, this will be the yummiest.
We're gonna serve this alongside some over easy eggs, and this is one that everyone in our family loves.
It's a sausage in there.
There is sausage in there. Here's buddy. All right, guys, let's bring some stuff to the table.
Get ready for dinner.
Get ready
All right.
for a winner.
For dinner, we're gonna have the chicken that we had slow cooking for the whole day, and we're gonna serve that alongside salads or deconstructed salads for our kids. In this summer, when we have fresh lettuce growing outside, this is really the only time of year that we have salads, but on these hot, warm days, it always hits the spot. Salad dressing is one of those things that we always make homemade. It's really hard to find store-bought salad dressings that don't have vegetable and seed oils and really unhealthy ingredients. And if you do find good, healthier options, they're often really expensive. But salad dressing is so easy to make. You only need a couple of ingredients and they come together really quickly. My favorite dressing is this creamy honey mustard dressing. So the base of this dressing is mayonnaise. You could definitely make your own mayonnaise, which is really easy, and we do that sometimes, but usually I'll pick up the avocado oil mayonnaise from Costco because we tend to not go through it that quickly, and so this way I can have it and keep it in the fridge for a couple of months. So with the mayonnaise, I'll add in a bit of mustard and maple syrup and apple cider vinegar, and it's so good together. It's such a good combination. I'll link the full recipe below. I think another big piece to the puzzle is not trying to pack in too much to any one day. We usually have just a couple of top priority things that we are trying to get done each day. When I try to cram in too much to one day, it just leads to me feeling stressed out and overwhelmed, which means everyone in the house feels stressed out and overwhelmed. But if I can have a few manageable things that I'm trying to get done, each day feels calm yet productive, and over time, all of those little things can build up to a lot. Plus, this leaves space for the inevitable things that are going to come up during the day. The kid getting sick, the spills that you need to clean up, the animal that got out, and these things no longer feel like they're gonna derail your whole day when there's some extra margin built in. Today my goals were to make a batch of pesto for the freezer and to make a chocolate chip cookie cake recipe that we wanted to photograph and get the recipe up on our blog. After we finished our homeschool stuff for the day, I head out to the garden and do some harvesting for the things that we're gonna need today. So I grabbed the basil for our pesto, some lettuce and raspberries for the salads that we're gonna have for dinner. I wanted to get going on the pesto and grinding wheat for the cake since these things are gonna be loud and I wanna get them done before nap time. So pesto, kind of like salad dressing, is one of those things that we always make homemade because pesto from the store is not just expensive, but it's always full of junky oils and bad ingredients, and so it's so easy to make yourself with just a handful of ingredients. I just throw in our basil, some nuts, some salt and pepper into a blender, mix those things up, add our olive oil, and then we like to make a bunch of this that we freeze on hand for the year. So I just freeze it in some silicone molds and then stick it in the freezer and store it in gallon-sized Ziploc bags. In the midst of these full days, people often wonder, how do you take time for yourself or to do the things that you want to do? So for us, this time usually comes first thing in the morning. So we make it a priority to get up an hour or 2 hours before our kids get up so that we can have that time to ourselves to do things that we enjoy. So for me, this usually looks like getting up, eating breakfast in peace, going for a long walk, or spending time in the garden and meditating and praying. And having this time is really, really helpful to my day starting off on the right foot. I find that if I wake up when my kids do, I feel frantic, I feel stressed out from the beginning of my day. But if I can start off with some outside time, some movement, a calm mind, it puts me in a good state of mind to be able to tackle whatever the day holds. The afternoon is the time when our kids do a quiet rest time, and so after lunch, Jim and I usually take a few minutes to debrief on the morning and make sure we're on the same page for what we need to work on in the afternoon. This also gives us a few minutes to just decompress, rest for a few minutes. We'll likely pull out our phone, check all the things before jumping into whatever we have planned for the afternoon. It was just our son's birthday last week, and we made this chocolate chip cookie cake, and it was one that I knew I wanted to get on our website right away because it was so good. So while this isn't a recipe that I'd recommend for health, it is delicious, and I definitely recommend that you give this one a try. As opposed to most standard Blondie bars or chocolate chip cookie bars that are pretty thin, this is more cake-like. It's nice and thick, but it still has that delicious ooey gooey chocolate chip cookie texture. Oh, that looks good. All of our days end with reading aloud together as a family. And this is probably the thing that we all look forward to most in our days. We love this time. So Jim is always the one who reads aloud to our family. Right now we are reading the Green Ember series. We're about halfway through that 10-book series and absolutely loving it and look forward to each chapter that we get to read. There's definitely always requests for one more chapter, and that's not just from the kids, that's from us too.
All right, who's ready for Green Ember?
This is
Yeah. Here we go. Chapter 35, The Edge of Doom. It's staggering, was all Heather could say. She was speechless at the massive scale of the preparations and had no idea how to express her awe. We've made great gains since the first slaves dreamt of escape, the tunneler said.
When I think about that question, how do you get it all done? I think it's important to be clear on what that all is that we're talking about. We rarely feel like we are getting it all done. We have a list a mile long of projects that we'd love to get to. We're in a season of prioritizing just the things that absolutely need to get done, and we're okay with letting some of those other things hang out on the back burner for the time being. But instead, we like to think of getting it all done to mean living out our values, nourishing our bodies and our minds, spending quality time with each other, and enjoying every day as much as we can.